have a business in America now, a technology startup. It requires me to travel a lot around the US using internal flights. And as anyone who's experienced them knows, that can be a pretty harrowing experience. But nothing quite as harrowing as this story. It's a lady called Jennifer Devereaux, and she was on a flight from, I think, Boston to New York or something like that, with her young children, including a 3-year-old daughter. And they're on the tarmac at the airport, and there's an announcement that there's been a delay, and they're stuck there for 45 minutes. So they're sitting there, and her 3-year-old little girl announces that she wants to go to the toilet. Since they're sitting on the tarmac, she thinks there's nothing wrong with getting up, taking her to the toilet. The minute she does that, a member of the flight crew comes racing down the aisle, tells her to get back in the seat. You can't go to the toilet. She says, but she's just 3 years old, come on, what's the harm? Nope, got to sit down. A few minutes later, the little girl's saying, no, I really, really need to go. She tries again. Same response, you've got to sit down. And then, a few minutes after that, this 3-year-old girl wets herself in the seat, in the airplane. So her mum, Jennifer, asks one of the cabin crew for something to clean it up with. Can you give me a napkin or a tissue or something like this? And she doesn't hear anything again. Person goes off, doesn't come back with anything. So her little girl is sitting there, as you can imagine, incredibly upset. She's upset. It's horrible. She remembers that she has a jumper in the overhead bin. So she gets up to open the bin and get the jumper. At that point, a member of the cabin crew comes back, tells her to sit down. The captain's got the seatbelt sign on, you have to take your seat. She said, look, I'm just getting a jumper to clean up my... No, you've got to sit down. So totally defeated, she sits down. A few minutes later, the captain comes on the intercom and says, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really sorry, but we have a non-compliant passenger on board, and we need to return to the gate to remove them from the aircraft. Referring to that lady and her little girl and the family. And the reason I think that's an important story, although a very, very small one in the overall scheme of things, is that it actually tells us a lot about what's gone wrong with the world and what we need to put right. Because if you think about the people involved in that story, the employees of that airline, JetBlue as it happens, but it could be any airline, the members of the crew and the captain, they would never behave in that way to that mother and that little girl if they met them in normal circumstances. The way they behaved was completely inhuman. And they wouldn't normally do that. It was the structures and the systems and the bureaucracy and all the rest of it that made them behave like that. The security rules and the protocols and whatever these airlines have to go along with. It was the systems that have been designed that made them behave in an inhuman way. And I think that's what's happening right across people's lives, whether it's the way government behaves, the way that people are treated by public services, and also by businesses like that airline, but many others too. In our daily lives, we constantly come across instances of behavior like that, and we have a system of government, public services, and business that I think has become too big, too bureaucratic, too removed from the human scale. And that is the heart of the argument that what we need to do if we really want to deal with the frustrations that people have, with the things that are going on in their lives, is not just think about changing the policies or changing the government. It's actually taking a deep look at the structural issues, the causes of some of these problems. If we want to improve schools, if we want to tackle poverty and inequality, we've got to do so in a way that is more human, because in the end, these are questions of human behavior and the way people relate to each other. And we're not going to get the kind of transformation that I think is possible for us to achieve in the outcomes we want to see by continuing with these outdated, broken systems that were designed in the 20th century. They achieved quite a lot of progress in the 20th century, let's give them that, in terms of the welfare state and these big bureaucratic systems that government created. They certainly got us to a certain point. But I think we've reached the end, really, of what we can expect from those, and we need to do something completely different. We need to rethink the way we run these things, and we need to make them more human. Because I do think this is something that affects us right across the board. It's not just about politics, it's not just about government, it's about the way we live our lives today.